Okay, so we are going to be using the law of cosines today. All right, so it is important to know when you use law of cosines. So we're going to use law of cosines when given, number one, three sides, which would be side, 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 or two sides and their included angle. All right, so if you guys remember from law of sines, they also use it when you have two sides and an angle. So for law of sines, it was two sides and an angle opposite of one of them. For law of cosines, it's two sides and an angle in between. And so you are going to know it's not opposite, that it's between, when the angle letter doesn't match the side, either of the sides letters, so the label. So the angle label doesn't match either side. Okay, now the law of cosines is something that you will be given on the challenge exam reference sheet. It's also, whenever they put law of cosines problems on the ACT, they do give you the law of cosines, so that is very helpful. So it is not something that you need to memorize. So it is going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of angle A. It is kind of a long formula. Now, the way we are using law of cosines, we're basically plugging in and then maybe doing one or two things. There's not, without the graphing calculator, there's not a lot you can really simplify down. And we're just going to leave our answers messy because from what I've seen on the ACT is they leave it messy also. So on example 1, we are going to find side A. And what we know is that angle A is 75 degrees, side B is 12, and side C is 10. So this is a situation where we have two sides and their included angle because the angle label A doesn't match either of the sides. All right, so what we're going to do is just take all the things that we're given and plug them into the formula. So A is what we're looking for, and then we're just plugging in. Okay. And just to, keep this simple, keep it like what you're going to see on the ACT or the challenge exam, really, all they do to solve this for A is do the square root. And when you do the square root, it's just a big, long square root with all that stuff underneath. You do need to be careful on multiple choice because the choices will be super similar. So take your time, check your answers carefully, but this is it. This is how we would represent side A. All right, so let's look at the next one. For example 2. For example 2, we're finding angle A, so capital. And we know that lowercase a, side A is 9, side B is 12, and side C is 14. So 3 sides means we use the law of cosines. All right, and then I will just take a second and I'm going to plug all of those things in to my law of sines. And then A is what we're looking for, capital A. All right, and again, they leave this pretty messy. Like, I know we could figure out what 9 squared is and all that, but we're not going to. We're just going to leave it in this form, but we do need to solve it for A. So we have some things to do this time. So first, I would move my 12 squared and 14 squared over with the 9. Oh, sorry. I left off my equal sign. Don't do that. Right, and then to solve this, we would want to divide by what's being multiplied by the cosine. Okay. And then they might do different things here. We're definitely going to do that A is the inverse cosine. But they might play around with the sign. So I'm going to write this a couple of ways. So a lot of times you won't see a fraction with a negative on the bottom by itself. So they may pull that negative out in the front and do it this way. Or it's possible they may distribute that negative through the top. And so I just want you to be prepared for either answer. All right, so they would make the 9 squared negative and the other two positive, and in doing that, they probably would also change the order. All right, so look over that, make sure that those answers make sense to you, but that is, I think, how they would leave the answers, either one of those. Or it's possible they might leave that negative in the bottom. I don't think they will. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to talk about is the only formula you'll be given is this one. But it's possible you might not want to find A. Like with what you're given, you may need to find B or you may need to find C. And so we can kind of manipulate this formula, and I'll show you how to do that on this last example. So this time we're going to find side C. And what we know is that angle C is 108 degrees, B is 7, and A is 10. So this is another one with two sides and the angle between, because that angle doesn't match the letter of either side. And so since we're looking for C, we're going to change this formula up. All right, so what we're looking for is going to be on the outsides of the formula. And then everything else that you know is going to be on the insides. All right, so this time I want to find C. So C is going to be an outside variable, right? And then anything that's not a C is filling in on the inside. So I still have the B squared, but instead of where the C is here, that's now going to be an A. And then same thing with those two. And then cosine, and then my outside is a C. And then to solve that, we're just going to do the square root. So as long as what you're looking for is an outside variable and everything else you throw on the insides, it will work out. Okay, so your assignment is kind of weird, mainly because your book expects you to use a graphing calculator to do the problems, and we aren't going to. There's 2 pages, page 415 and 417. 1 and 2 are vocabulary. On number 6, I only want you to find angle A. 7, find angle C. 11, find side A. 18, find side A. And 19, find side B. And then do number 66. Number 66 is determining whether or not you use law of sines or law of cosines.